All right, here we are for episode 95 of Digital Divination, ever creeping forward to the century mark.
Yes.
Oh, Jason, how you been past couple weeks?
I'm all right. Good. It's that time of year where things are spooky. So I've been watching some spooky stuff on TVs, movies, that kind of stuff, and having a good time.
Yeah, do you have any spooky plans for spooky?
I'm gonna be running Abomination Vaults that night,
Oh,
actually.
fun, fun.
Yes, and they're about to have a spooky encounter with a ghoul high priestess.
Oh,
So
okay. I think I know where that is. Like,
yeah,
is it a place
yeah,
there's
yeah.
lots of books and things and
Yeah,
around
yeah,
that
there's
area? Yeah, okay.
lots of books and things. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, I do have. Do I have 5 players? I'm gonna count them. Yes. And they're still only second level, but
Yeah,
that'll
right.
change
That makes
after.
sense where they're
So
at.
it's gonna be a little trick of the ghoul fight, and then a treat of you get to level up after this is over.
Yeah, no, that's and those ghouls are actually quite scary.
They're pretty scary.
Ah,
My players have been doing very good on the fort saves. They have not been paralyzed yet,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is really good for
No,
them
no,
because
and
they are kind of in over their heads a little bit.
yeah, we finished up Abomination Vaults a couple weeks ago. I remember
Ooh, okay.
going down there and so is this a game you're doing in person or is it online?
No, it's over VTT
Okay.
using Foundry. I have the fancy
Yeah,
Foundry version of it, so
fun.
that's
No.
where it's been working out pretty well. Yeah.
That sounds great. Yeah, I was invited to something for Monday night. So Halloween Eve. Stephanie's
Mm.
going to run something called 10 Candles, which is
Ooh, I've been wanting to try that.
yeah, and I'm unfortunately I'm feeling a little under the weather and even if I feel good enough I don't think I
Yeah,
should go because I'm not quite
fair.
sure. I had
Hmm.
my COVID booster this week,
Oh,
and
good.
they changed my medication, which both of which these things can cause me to feel kind of run crappy. So,
Right. Yeah.
and I have a deadline on Friday that I'm
Oh
working
no.
hard
Okay.
towards.
Well.
I'm pretty.
Yeah.
It's a draft milestone. And I'm not already there, and I'm
Oh,
just kind of fine. But I really want to
fair
turn in a
enough.
100% draft rather than a 90% draft, so that whatever
Yeah.
feedback I get, I can kind of go in there and care for it.
Go for all of it. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Well. I hope you feel better.
Well, thanks. Yeah,
Just rest up.
appreciate that. Um, last time when we were talking about Starfinder Enhanced, we had mentioned
Hmm.
that each of us would come up with a character concept using Starfinder Enhanced character option. Did you do that?
Right. Exactly. I did.
All right.
I have an idea of something, someone. I don't know. Again, when I make sometimes I'm not a super good min maxer.
Yeah.
So these character choices may be suboptimal, but I found some fun things that would be interesting. Would make an interesting character.
All right. All right.
I
Yeah.
think.
I kind of again, I've been feeling under the weather a little bit. So I looked at a couple things. I thought, yeah, I think this would be kind of fun. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go first. So that'll give me time to think a little bit more on
Okay.
mine.
Sure. So it's just sort of like deciding on seeing what's in enhanced, and just sort of like, oh, I'll pick a species, I'll pick a background, and I mean a theme, and then I'll pick some thing, not necessarily one of the enhanced classes, but one of something from the thing.
Sure.
Um, and Gripplies are in
Oh,
Starfinder
no.
enhanced, so I was
That's what
like,
I
well, I
picked
got.
too.
Would you pick Gripply too?
Yes. Oh, no,
Oh,
this is going to be really funny. Okay.
this would be
Keep,
fun.
keep
Okay.
going. Keep going.
If we picked, so I don't know, I like Gripply, want to play a frog.
Okay.
Always go for some of the weird stuff. But I was then flipping through the themes, and now this is slightly cheating because I did develop this theme when it originally showed up
Okay.
in an AP, and that's Paranormal
Right.
Investigator
Okay.
because it's spooky time
I
of
didn't pick
year.
that one.
So I picked something. Okay, I picked something spooky, Paranormal Investigator Frog. And I decided I was going through some of this stuff, and I noticed that there's a new first level Solarian revelation that channels positive
Oh,
energy,
yeah. Yeah.
so you can do something, and it overcomes the resistances of undead.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, there we go, fighting. He's fighting. He's like a investigator slash undead hunter of some kind. And of course, just try to find. I didn't go for a look for a picture, but I would definitely start looking for people who drew Kermit the Frog as Mulder.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
I
that
think
would
that would
be
be my
really
first.
good. That's
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Okay. Well, I was looking through them all and I thought, Jason, he's gonna do the holographic therapist. So I can't do that. And
Did I say that last time? That's what I was going to
no,
do
no,
because
no,
I
but you were
forgot. I must have
talking about how
forgotten
much you like the therapy. Um, what was that?
the
The counselor. Yeah,
counselor
the counselor. So I
archetype.
thought, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that would be perfect. So anyway, so I decided I'm gonna do a Gripply as well,
Mm-hmm.
but with a pickpocket theme. So I thought, he's got
Mm.
all those hands.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Grabby
then
hands.
I was looking at an enhanced envoy, in part because I saw one
Mm.
of the new envoy improvisations is called Now You See It. And basically, you can use sleight of hand to place an item where it wasn't
On
before.
Boy.
And one of the things
Mm-hmm.
it mentions in there, I thought, oh, this would be really cool. If you have the pull the pin feat, you
Feet.
can actually
Yeah.
place a grenade play
Yeah.
on somebody's person, and then you can add your expertise die to the damage. And I thought,
Oh,
you
okay.
know,
That's fun.
that's a normal pickpocket would be kind of fun, and an envoy doing uh, different things than shouting at people and stuff. That would be kind of fun. I thought,
Yeah,
who would
yeah,
be
yeah.
really good? But I thought a Gripply, and so that was kind of my basic theme. I like your the paranormal investigator with that Solarian
A Solarian
thing.
thing.
That sounds really cool, though.
Now let me say that. Let's talk about like if I wanted to min max this,
Okay,
I would need a
min
good
max it. Yes.
charismatic based species, right?
Yes.
And I'm just gonna kind of flip through here real quick.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, you got your hard copy.
okay, on yeah, yeah. Oh, and I got my card.
Yeah, the
Yes, I did. I
contributor
got my
copies
I got
came.
my
Yeah, yeah,
contributor
yeah.
copies
That's right.
came from me. Yeah, that's good. I mean, I don't want it. There's some good. There's some good charisma based. Of course, I'll just be this. I'll be this little guy. I'll be the Scary
Yes, the Scare Day. That's a good one.
Scary Day paranormal investigator.
So the other thing I thought about was doing was like a Knoll personal trainer. I
Oh,
I thought that would
it's
be kind
fun.
of
Yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Really
yeah.
getting after people and stuff and laughing at them when they messed up. Uh, oh,
Yeah, no. If I was going to do the counselor, yeah, I do hologram
yeah,
counselor archetype with. I guess envoy would have to be an envoy class. I think.
probably.
Yeah, for sort of like talking
Yeah,
people out,
sense motive and
having that
motivation.
sense motive.
There's
And yeah,
the
yeah.
motivation archetype actually you can use in there well, right?
Oh
To try
yeah,
to
grab two archetypes.
buff them up. I'm glad you got your hard copy uh, because one of the things I have
Hmm.
promised to our Emerald Lodge, we have our convention here
Oh
in
yeah,
first week of
awesome.
December. I promised them a
Hmm.
signed copy of Starfinder Enhanced with both of us signing it. So
Okay.
I'm keeping a copy that I can bring over, or if you have an extra copy, depending on how you want it,
I mean, I've got
or we could do
two
two
now,
even.
so I.
You know, um,
Well, I mean, I want to keep one for
yeah. Oh
myself
yeah, yeah.
unless I decide to grab one. Unless I decide to get a work copy, a desk copy,
Yes, that's true.
from work, which I could do if you wanted two of these, and
No,
I'd
no,
be
I
happy to
don't. I
do
don't
that.
need two. I don't need two from you.
Okay.
What I was saying is, I could donate one. You could donate one. We could sign, so we could maybe even
Yeah.
donate two. That's all.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
idea. That's what. Yeah,
So
let's do
something
that.
like that. I'm giving actually. So I have three copies because I'm a
Ooh,
super
right.
subscriber, and I get the hard copies in the subscription because I like the PDFs too. Because unlike you, I
Mm,
don't get free PDFs.
mm, fair
Go
enough.
figure. So I'm gonna give my other one to Ron though. So he gives me a lot
Okay.
of stuff. In
Yeah.
fact, he gave me I can't say it. He gave me something really really special that I'll tell you offline
Ooh, tell me
because
later.
I can't
Yeah.
I
Good.
can't
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
you now. So online. Um, but anyway, so I already promised him one, and I'll donate the other one. But we'll have to meet some time to sign it up before.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll sign one,
Cool.
and then you bring me yours, and I'll sign yours, and you
Excellent.
can sign the one I give you. I don't know why. I'll come up with the logistics of that right now.
No, 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 no.
Of
Yeah,
course.
and in fact, one
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
things I'll do is I'll get the whoever wins it, we'll get the names, and we'll actually write it specifically to so
Oh, great.
really
Yeah, great.
customized. I
Fantastic.
think this will
Yeah.
be extra special thing. I see Bigby really laying out now.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. He
he's
loves
all
to flop his head down
yeah, yeah.
off the
Oh,
bed, off the side of his little bed, in the bed.
so anyway, so one of the things that I saw in my emails from Paizo was that I got notice that my remastered versions are coming soon, and the thing is, it says
Mm.
will ship in 2 to 20 days, so it's quite a
Well,
range
you never
there.
know. Yeah, it takes time, and
Yeah.
with the movement of the warehouse, and
Oh
I think
yeah.
we got to make sure that's all spooled up and get people their
So
copies.
is there?
I think it is. I think it's all
Yeah,
done
is there
right
any
now at this
warehouse
point.
left in the old building?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. We think I
No more
might
office
even have a
space. So if you
picture
ever
of.
have to have office meetings, you have to like rent a temporary space or something.
Sure, yeah. Just go to a Panera and get that lemonade.
Yeah, yeah. Get a big enough table and eat and
Yeah. Have you heard about the Panera lemonade?
um now I don't know. I know that they have lemonade.
Okay. No, there's
Wh-
someone they have lemonade, and apparently, according to somebody, I think maybe on TikTok or something, it has like more caffeine in it than like a shot of espresso,
Oh, I thought
like a
that
normal
was
glass,
so
a
that I
cup of
thought
it.
that was a very specific type of lemonade that was coming out. I didn't
Uh,
realize it was being carried
maybe.
at Panera.
Yes. Now I'm not sure I've gotten that right, but
Yeah.
uh, that being said, I'm sure someone can go look that up and
Okay.
tell me that
Yeah,
I'm wrong.
we don't have to talk about that. Are you gonna dress up for Halloween?
I won't be on camera when I'm running my game, so I don't really need
But you
to.
could be
I'll
on
probably wear
camera.
something. Maybe I'll do
Yeah.
a brief camera, show everyone that I'm dressed up as something, even though I have
Be a
no costume
ghoul. Be a
planned.
ghoul.
I'll be the golden. Yeah, there you
That'd be
go.
kind of scary.
I'll just look real pale. Done.
Yeah. But you gotta
Costume already done.
yeah, I'm teaching that day, and usually
Oh yeah.
usually I dress up, but I have to walk a long way when I'm teaching, and I
Hmm.
don't like to walk a long way with most of my costumes. Like I have to go to another building,
Yeah.
up some stairs. So
Change it up.
I'm not sure. I have a couple of costumes. I really wanted to wear my Mando costume, but it's not. I don't have it ready to go. It's gonna have to
Fair.
another time,
Fair enough.
and hopefully when I don't have to go very far.
Next.
So
Yeah, yeah.
because you can't see
Next
out of the
May.
helmet hardly at all. It's awful.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's just this narrow little slit
Oh
here. But
yeah.
I did look into getting a voice changer. There's
Oh
somebody on Etsy's got one that's designed for Mando and Boba Fett, and it makes you sound just like them when you're talking. Got a little speak.
wow.
So that's next on my wish list of things.
There you
So
go.
like to have the whole shoot. Anyway, getting back to remastered, I thought what we could talk about ever briefly. I don't want to get too far in because I don't want to get you in trouble since you're on this whole Pathfinder team working on it. But I thought we could
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about some of the implications for Starfinder 2.0 that we are seeing now that remastered is coming closer to fruition.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I can't quite remember what we've talked about in the past, but I mean the whole if it's going to run on the same engine,
Right.
we've got to talk about a little bit about character creation. I assume what they're going to do is just take themes and turn them into backgrounds,
Right.
right? Or maybe even still call them themes. I don't know, but probably keep them as backgrounds.
Mhm.
Um, and then the ability scores stuff will stay the same.
Right.
The tricky thing has always been or will be the way that ancestries work in Pathfinder and how they work in Starfinder First Edition
Right.
are vastly different. And can you have that breadth of options. Now, granted, there's a lot of playable ancestries in second edition Pathfinder at this point now,
Mhm.
but there's nowhere near as many as there are in Starfinder, right? And can you do enough? Because a ancestry treatment the way it's done in Pathfinder, which takes about 4 pages at least,
Right.
and can you do that for the myriad number of
But
Starfinder
you wouldn't
options?
start with, I mean, even Starfinder, right? You just started with the core species, right? Or
That's
player
true.
options.
That's true, true, true. But
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe you
But
start
people are
with
gonna want
more
to convert
favorites in
everything.
there, but you're not gonna start off with 100, right? You're gonna start off maybe,
No, I mean you can't.
right?
No, you'd have to.
Maybe start off with 10 instead,
It's still a lot.
so not as limited as you were originally. So maybe you have some legacy
Yeah.
species, and then you have the Starfinder legacy species, Pathfinder
Right.
legacy, and
It,
something like that.
so yeah, I mean it's gonna decide. I don't know if they're gonna end up being like, well, you know, rat folk that exists in Pathfinder, so we're not gonna redo it.
Oh,
We're
right,
just like
that's
just
true.
use the
That's
rat
true
folk that
because
exists.
they should carry over.
Use the android that
Yeah,
exists. Right. But those are all very like they're all definitely geared towards Pathfinder, so I don't know how much you would need to change to make them more Starfindery.
right,
Say things because we've seen some of the field tests for the soldier and the mystic, and there's things that are very much in the vein of Starfinder, certain types of spells that are geared towards me you having combat. Everyone's got a combat badge, right?
right,
Um, and whether or not you'd want to do that for the ancestry stuff as well.
right,
It may be that the beginning they just sort of, they're going to have to put human in there,
right.
and they can't just say use the human that's in Pathfinder first edition or second edition. So there's gonna have to be a little bit of that, but there is something like I don't know how much they're gonna end up like leaning on like the idea of the versatile heritages that are now in core
Right.
player core, right? For the planar scions, Nephilim, and half orc and half elf, right?
Mhm.
That kind of stuff. Well, those are not necessarily versatile, but what was the other one that's in player core? I've already forgotten. I think it's changeling.
I
Just gonna
I
double
don't.
check that. Yes, it is. But the mixed entropy of half orc, but
Right.
whether or not how much they're going to end up leaning on that
Right.
for things. Like we don't talk a lot of Starfighter doesn't have necessarily a lot of that.
Mhm.
We know there were all the planar scions that sort of came through
Right.
eventually for all the genie kin, and at some point there were some other ones that were introduced later in the game, like Gonzi and I don't know if we ever did Duskwalker.
I don't recall one.
Anyway, if that one counts or not. Sure, there's another planar scion that I can't quite think of at the moment, but um, it's something you could use that sort of framework maybe.
Hmm.
Like Android could be a versatile heritage if it's like I'm an android that looks like a Yusoki. I'm an android that looks
Oh,
like
right.
a Kasatha.
Right.
I'm an android, right? Like there was that android alternate species
Yeah,
thing
a
that
graph
was
that you could put on,
xenometric, I
yeah.
think.
But it was
Yeah,
limited
yeah.
it
You
was
take that
limited to what
and
you could apply it to, well, though.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was just I think meant to replicate the
Right.
core species, the core playable species in the core rulebook. But there's other ways other things you could look at too. But like whether or not, like, because gnome and halfling uh, and even goblin are not in Starfinder core exactly.
Right.
They weren't obviously they're not in the first edition core rulebook, and they just they were in the back, right? Well, not the goblin one, but gnome, halfling,
Right,
and
right,
all that.
right.
Were in the back
Right,
of the
only
sort of the
how you would
playable
bring them over from
legacy.
Pathfinder, though. I mean, that's
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So maybe that's how it starts as well. Maybe that's what they do is when they do 2.0, say, okay, and here's how you adapt your Pathfinder ancestries over to Starfinder.
I mean, maybe
Yeah.
that what you could do it in like a spread and like feel free to use anything that's in human or let's say elf. Let's say anything that's in elf core, player core for Pathfinder, and then say, oh, here's a spread of new feats,
Right.
elf ancestry feats that reflect the setting, right? Or
Right.
even maybe even a page. So you just do all the dwarf, elf, gnome. these four, you just do those, and here's a page for each of them that are
Yeah.
just sort
So
of, here's some extra stuff that you can at heritage or whatever, right?
right. So species for sure. And you mentioned
Yeah,
themes. Right, that's something that will have to be adjusted. I would say even how class feats and general feats are used. Right. That's a completely different system in
sure, yeah.
in
I
second
mean, yeah,
edition than it is in Starfinder. So that's got to be revamped and changed quite a bit. How the different abilities scale up for the classes in Starfinder will mirror more those
yeah.
class feats have in than it is now.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen again the field test for the soldier and
Right.
the mystic. We've
Right.
seen that they're hewing very closely to second edition classes, Pathfinder second edition classes. You were obviously not going to see a number of the feats that exist in Starfinder to move towards the general feats and skill feats that exist in second edition, right? I'm sure there'll be some new ones, but you're gonna, I think, probably see some, combat climber, for instance, is
Right.
a skill feat. You've got athletics, you can climb and shoot a gun without being off guard or whatever. Kind of a no brainer to add that. It applies
Oh
if you're going
yeah.
to be
And
climbing
battle
one way or
medicine
the
is
other,
one
right?
I love in second edition.
Battle
That would be
medicine,
great,
yeah,
in
yeah.
Starfinder as well. I wonder if they now I don't recall this. So in the field test, do they still have the stamina system in number?
No, nope,
Yeah.
nope, no stamina.
Yeah.
It
So
was all just hit points.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. So that actually
need
simplifies
more.
things a little bit there.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't think we even saw. I don't even think we saw resolve points. To be perfectly honest, I think it was all just still it's hit points, hero points, basically.
So would you have oh, that's interesting because there's a lot of classes that have like secondary pools for things and resolve points
Right.
or like entropic points or whatever, and like panache.
I
Like,
think you're gonna. Yeah, I think you're gonna see. I mean, a little bit of that sort of flattening out.
yeah,
Honestly, because it doesn't necessarily jibe with the way that Pathfinder Second Edition works in a
right,
lot of ways.
right,
Focus points, point, are going to be probably something that's going to show up
right.
probably for Mystic, Technomancer, that kind of stuff, the spellcasting classes, and anyone that has a. I don't know. I mean, whether or not they're going to like. So you look at Panache, which is kind of a switch,
Right.
right? Basically, it's just a state that you're in. I could see that something like that for Solarian being a little bit more of a state, and you could still do like not necessarily call them attunement points, but you could be like two states: partially attuned, fully attuned,
Right.
right? And you just need to do this once, and then do this. One round you can do it, and you turn yourself partially attuned. Second round you do an action, you'll become fully attuned, and then you can use your fully attuned powers, right? Um, you could and do that in a way that takes an action for you to do in combat. Uh, because instead of it being free, you have to make the choice to go.
Right. And,
Maybe
and
maybe
now
you're
you have
maybe
three
there's
actions that you
more
can spread
way to
around, so that's not
yeah
as
because you have the three
burdensome.
actions, right? Yeah. No, right. It's because you've got the like a ranger in Pathfinder. You got to hunt your prey. You
Right.
pick that person, but that's good for the combat, right? At least until that person is down. But like, but that's one action you use. Um, barbarian rage. It's an action you have to use, but you still have two more
Right.
actions to do stuff in.
Hmm.
And I could see it being like, you get to make a choice. Maybe like you can be a partially attuned photon, and then on the next round, when you probably a sustain, right? You sustain this ability. When you sustain it, the first time you sustain it, you become fully attuned, or you can sustain it to go partially attuned to graviton, right? Maybe you can do a lot of switching because that will get you like Panache does. Um,
Right.
gets you some bonuses to speed and bonuses
Hmm.
to certain types of actions. Maybe you want to do that. Maybe you don't want to go fully attuned just yet because you can kind of go back and forth. I don't know. Just some
Yeah.
random armchair design, of course.
What about multi-classing into Pathfinder classes? Starfinder.
I mean, all that archetype, multi-classing archetypes exist.
Yeah.
If it's supposed to be fully compatible. Now, by the way, they've said that I'm pretty sure they've said that there's going to be the core rulebook, Starfinder core rulebook. will stand alone, right?
Mhm.
You don't need to have Pathfinder Player Core One
Oh,
to
yeah,
to to
understood.
to
Yeah, yeah.
do it, to do it, right? So it's going to stand alone, so you can play Starfinder. So all that will be in there. So, but in the off chance if you want to like throw it all into a blender, I mean, you just be like, yeah, you just take a soldier, you take a wizard multi-class archetype, bam, now you've got some spells,
Right,
and maybe they'll be the same because I don't know if the traditions are going to be the same or not.
right.
I kind of suspect they will be because it's sort of basic of stuff. We've seen that in Mystic. It's talked a little bit about Primal, a little bit about Occult. So it'll be just like, yeah, okay, bam, Arcane, you've got the list, and then they'll maybe they. I hope it's somewhere in the back of the book, or if they're doing it in the same vein as we're doing Player Core and GM Core, maybe there'll be a GM Starfinder Core somewhere in that book. Is what do you want to do when you want to throw it all in the kitchen sink
Right.
and mix it all up? Do you just say, oh, all the spells possible, all the arcane spells from both Pathfinder and Starfinder exist. Let at
That'd
it.
be a huge
Let them have it.
balance kinda thing. You'd have to really
Hmm.
make sure everything is really tight for both systems and how they interacted.
Right. I think the math is going to be the same,
Right, you would
honestly.
think, yeah.
So for the because it's an engine that we're that's running it. And granted, they're sort of talking about the abilities, the class features, and class feats you're going to get are going to be more geared towards range combat because of Starfinder. But I think the math is still going to end up being basically the same. We talked a little bit about like how much range combat is in Starfinder because I don't know, like 75% of the monsters you fight are run up to you and try to claw you and,
Yeah,
and eat your face, right? So, there's still melee stuff and it still exists, and people want to have the big Dushkos and the plasma swords and whatever to do them to the melee. So I think the numbers will be basically,
right.
not probably not exactly the same. There might be some, but I think the math is going to work out
Yeah, I
the
wonder
same.
if there'll still be the same archaic kinda system where, that way, kinda lends some the newer tech lends some advantages against the older tech because there's an archaic
Yeah, maybe.
modifier,
Yeah,
something like that. I mean, that'd be
maybe.
one way that you could have them coexist, and that modifier could
Yeah.
be scaled, so that, your laser does way better job than that arrow type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, but also, I don't know, like, will there be? You don't want to necessarily, if you want to mix everything together, and want to be able to mix everything together, having everything Pathfinder be a worse choice, right? To be a
Right.
bad choice,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, it could be
right?
just for, penetrating. Maybe the damage is the same, or maybe there's some other trade-offs, between I don't
Yeah,
know. I'm just those are the
yeah.
things, the implications, I'm just looking at. Um, oh man, I was thinking about something else and it's gone. So
Okay.
oh man. It'll um all right. Yeah. Well, so the neat thing about building on the system is, you're talking about running abomination balls, and that's
Hmm.
quite a challenge. There's lots of really scary things in there. That would be really cool then to be able to take a Pathfinder adventure path, a really, kind of iconic dungeon crawl, whatever you do,
Hmm.
and bring Starfinder characters through that, because there's, different, definitely have some different abilities, being able to see in the dark, standard Starfinder characters, but not necessarily 100% common with
Yeah.
Pathfinder, and trying to get through locked things or trying to get through solid walls and doors and block path. There's you got flight capabilities more standard with Starfinder.
Right. I'm just wondering how much of that is going to like be moved forward
Yeah,
to
no,
Starfinder
or
two,
if it's just left to the
right?
GM,
So the
right, to
question of
figure it
the
out.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to remember the thing I was thinking of.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Let me. Nope, nope, still gone, still gone.
Okay.
Um, it was something with character options. We were talking about talking about the legacy stuff, and
Hmm.
Nope. Nope. Uh,
Nope.
will there be
Okay.
narrative chases in Pathfinder then, do you think? Going the other way. We have narrative
Um.
starship combat, maybe
Let me.
narrative chases and narrative shipboard combat, airship combat in
Maybe.
Pathfinder.
Maybe. I mean, you can do that. I mean,
Yeah.
narratively, you can just sort of,
Yeah.
chase is just you run after a guy. Maybe you make a check or two instead of doing the chase rules that exist in the in the second edition. Um, where but a lot of that stuff does boil down to a kind of like victory point system, right? A
Right.
lot of ways.
Right. That's true.
You do something, you get points, or back and forth, and you're trying to get to a certain threshold or whatever. But I mean, definitely. I mean, there can be. I don't know what how that's going to work,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
what it's going to look like.
Oh, I know. I know. I was just trying to. I think what I was thinking had to do with resolve point. And when you mentioned that,
I mean, because if you don't have stamina,
right?
you don't need resolve points, and if you want to also use hero points
Oh
for
yeah,
stop
hero
yourself from
points would
dying,
come in.
essentially, then
Yeah.
you don't need resolve points,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
You
Right.
kind of don't need them at that. So I think they're probably going to go away. We'll just have the hero points, hit points stuff,
Hit points and
with
hero
the exception,
points.
and then yes, 2 HPs. I'm sure someone brought that up at some point, but what else are you going to call them?
Yes.
Um, um, so all the classes that use the resolve points, which is nearly all of them, obviously. They're just gonna that stuff is just gonna not be around. I don't know exactly how it's going to change, but like
That's a pretty significant
talking
thing.
about like yeah, I mean it's a big thing. So that's why they're redoing all the
Yeah.
classes
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah. Oh, well, it's the resolve point model is basically something that places a limiter on the number of times you can do certain things that are
hmm
a little more powerful or provide a little bit more buff. So maybe that regresses everything to a more moderate level, but you can use it all the time. Uh, it'd still be nice if you had a boost method, you know,
I mean that's sort of what focus points
right? But
are,
for spellcasters,
right?
though,
So but mainly for
yeah,
spellcasters. I mean, but like the monk. Well, the monk. Those are end up being key spells, right?
right,
But like, say you do something that's envoy related. That is, there's the get 'em, and there's always that advanced get 'em that comes in at like what 6th level or something, where you can go like get 'em, and it's everybody. So maybe there's probably like a get 'em. You can just do it. It's an action. You take the
right.
feat, and you get that action right. And it's just
Oh, maybe you
it's
spend
the
two
same as
actions
bardic
then. Maybe
inspiration.
you use an extra
Oh, there you
action
go.
instead, right? So you have a one action get them, a
Okay,
two
that's a
action get
thought.
them, and a three action get them.
All right, I
Yeah,
like that. It wasn't what I was going
I
for. I was going
know.
to be like, then there becomes a focus
Yeah,
thing where you can say like, oh, you spend one focus point to get the advanced get
yeah,
'em, spell essentially,
yeah, yeah,
right, or
yeah.
whatever. But your idea is a little more interesting.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking like the heal, right? So when you have a cleric doing the cleric heals, right? You can have a 1, 2, 3 action
hmm
heal, and
hmm
so maybe with the focus point thing, it just becomes when you want to use this ability that's normally one action or two action, it's an extra action. So it's always available to you, but it's at the cost of being able
Right.
to do something else.
So here's what I think this is. Here's what I think it's gonna maybe it'll play out. Envoy, first level feat, get 'em.
Right.
Right. You can take it and you just say get 'em. They get someone gets a +1/+1. It's bardic inspiration essentially, right? Or maybe they'll do something different because there's already a bard. But and then at 6th level, if you have get 'em, you can get advanced get 'em or whatever they end up calling it, right? Which does the thing you said. It's like
Right.
when you get 'em, you can spend an extra action to XYZ or 2 actions to do XYZ. So
Right.
yeah, so I think they'll just be split out into feats,
Right.
not necessarily the way it is. Like when you take get 'em, it just sort of
Scales up.
auto levels up at 6th
Right.
level, right? But this one, I think you're going to need to take the extra feat to
Right.
make it do that thing.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's actually that's kind of a neat way to do that because there's not a lot of classes that your resolve points matter as much as it does for the envoy. Like
Yeah,
the envoy has so many things that
yeah.
you can buff with resolve or do stuff with resolve, trade off for resolve. Other classes have a little bit, especially at higher levels. You can do a little bit of something with it, but the envoy's the one that you always see running out of resolve. So
Yeah.
interesting.
Fair.
All right. Well, these are
All right.
now I'm getting my brain thinking. I think once we get the remastered books out and kind of pour through them a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more, I'll have a better sense for what's changed and what's not, and then start thinking about going into.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, everyone who's watching and listening, write down that John's idea on the back of an envelope or in a piece of paper and put that in an envelope and seal it, and we'll see how his prediction comes true for Starfinder Second
Oh,
Edition.
I bet you that they're already thinking about that. Just seems too clean.
I'm sure they
Yeah,
are,
yeah.
but what did they come up with?
Oh,
We
that's
don't know,
true.
and
That's
we
true.
won't know.
And
And so I
just to
said, so I
be
want to know how right you are.
yeah, to be clear to everybody, Jason and I have no idea what Starfinder
No
2.0
idea.
is going to look like. We're just kind of like you just spitballing based on our experience.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the field tests like
Yes.
everybody else, and that's all I've seen. Basically, I've heard things. I'll tell you, I've heard things, but not necessarily like specific design points or anything like that. Just like, hey, we're playtesting this, we're playtesting that, or this person's working on this class now, and so that's all I really know. But mechanics wise, I don't know anything.
So, I just want to put this out to our audience. We do have a couple listeners
Hmm.
out there. If they have a topic that they would like for us to cover in a future episode, we're happy to do that. In fact, we
Sure,
really
yeah.
want that help. So if you could
We gotta get
give us some
like
ideas.
4 more episodes.
Yeah.
Well, before we get to that 100th,
Yeah.
and then we should plan the 100th. We shouldn't
That'll be
necessarily
extra
let other
special.
people
But
plan it. But
like
until
the
then,
next
yeah.
four
Until then,
things to knock
yeah,
out. All right. And you can
exactly.
just post them in the comments here. You can post them over on the No Direction Discord. That's where a lot of folks put comments as well about you. All right. Well, this has been interesting, Jason.
Yeah, good job. And again just like want to know what's gonna happen
Yeah. No. Likewise.
and get to playing it.
Well, I'm John.
And I'm Jason, and this has been Digital Divination.